Hello and welcome to episode 105 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for July 8th, 2014. My name is Rainbow Plasma and today I'm joined by...
I am Atmospark. I do the questions, the DeviantArt page, and other stuff.
I forgot to do that again, didn't I?
I think you did. That's why I was confused.
I've been so out of it recently, I don't really know what's going on. But yeah, it's just the two of us.
It is.
Just the two of us.
Yay.
Yeah, so you've actually been really, like, you've been on this one, right, which is just the two of us, and then there was, like, it was like 2 weeks ago that it was just you and Flutter Guy, right?
Yeah, and I've done me and Bernd.
Oh yeah? When was that?
It was when I think the three of you guys were away. No, I think Flutter Guy was somewhere. No, didn't you guys go to a convention somewhere together?
Oh yeah, no, we went to PAX East. That's right.
Yeah,
like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
We got fan art for that show.
Cool. So you've got, I mean, man, you've got you've gotten all the way around now.
I have.
We're gonna have to start figuring out who else hasn't been on a two-person podcast, the personal podcast. I think this is the first time that I've done it. Well, I guess. See, the thing is that because it's so weird, because I was on one with Just Burned when it was what was that guest? Garrett Gilchrist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was with him then, and then there was 1 week. I've been on the only podcast where it was just one person. Because there was the 1 week when we interviewed My Little Investigations that it was me, and then I was like, okay, we have to do this. So I pulled in Mahauer as well.
Yeah. That's why I couldn't make that week.
Yeah, you were supposed to come, and then you got really, really sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, it's just the two of us, which is funny because we're recording this on Merca Day.
Yeah, we are.
July the 4th.
And there are no Americans here.
Yeah, we are the only non-Americans on the podcast. So they're off at Everfree Northwest, huh?
Yeah, they are. I was there last year.
Yeah, you were. I was there last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not this year.
Not this year.
Nah. Well, I decided... Well, I mean, you obviously, you have a reason, right? So.
Yeah, 16,000 kilometers and everything.
Oh, that's no big deal.
Nah.
Nah.
Google says I can kayak it.
Yeah, exactly. But like, last year I went to Everfree Northwest, and that was great, but I wanted to try something different this year. Plus, it's more expensive to fly all the way across, like, west from, like, the east side of Canada where I live all the way to the west side of the United States, so it was cheaper for me to go down to, like, Baltimore for BronyCon, and I wanted to try something different, and I only want to take one of these, like, big trips a year, so, yeah. Right. Because, I mean, like, even though I don't have to fly from Australia, it's not exactly cheap. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're off at Everfree Northwest. I have no idea what they're going to do when they come back, though.
No, I think we've given them free rein, haven't we?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Expect a pretty terrible episode.
Yeah, it's going to be awful. Just horrible. I think I basically said to them, like, you're doing the next episode, like, figure it out. So, I don't know. I know that Flutter Guy recently bought a new camera. Like a camcorder. You got like a DSLR, and it's got like he got like a stabilizer for it. So maybe we'll be seeing some footage from there. Yeah, I don't know. I told them so I told them that when they come back, they have to make it art related somehow, because I can understand some people really enjoy seeing the con stuff, but I understand how a lot of people don't really enjoy that because it's nothing really to do with art and it's kind of not our style. So I told them if you're gonna do something, you got to make it art related, and I think that's fair.
And it's it's cool if you were there, but not really cool if you weren't.
Exactly.
Sort of thing.
Exactly. Like it's really cool. Yeah, you said it best. It's really cool if you're there, but if you're not there, then it's kind of like, there can be some cool stuff about it, but overall, it's just it doesn't have the same kind of impact. So I told them to kind of be like, let's focus on art, and we're gonna try to do the same thing with BronyCon when we come back from that one as well, because like for people like you or I on this con, or you for BronyCon, it's kind of boring to just sit there and hear people talk about their weekend away.
Yeah, just me for BronyCon. You guys are going. I'm not.
Yeah. Speaking of just talking about our weekends, we're talking about other people's weekends. It's even worse.
Right.
So I wanted to bring up one more thing because, it's just you and me, and we don't get to have like these conversations back and forth. And so I wanted to bring up something that was kind of like related to like recent events and stuff. So I really like the. I think it's not really a band. It's like one guy. I
Yeah.
like Owl City, which is a musical group of one person. Um, and I really like their music. I think it's kind of considered by some to be like I don't know, like it has a lot of like female fans, and so it's like ho ho, you listen to Owl City. I mean, I don't care because I'm currently doing a podcast like about ponies,
Right.
so I don't really care. But it was funny because when I mentioned that to you, like, oh, I don't know, a year ago, you were kind of like, "Pah, whatever, like Owl City, that thing. But recently you've changed your mind.
I have. Yeah.
So why did you change your mind?
Um, I stopped listening to it for a while. I stopped hearing it for a while.
Oh, yeah?
It was like around the time that Avatar the movie, not Avatar the Last Airbender,
Right.
Avatar
Yeah.
came out. It was all over the radio, like everywhere, and then it just didn't stop, and I hated it.
It was that one song, right? It was Firefly.
Yeah.
Fireflies? Yeah,
Yeah,
Fireflies.
that's it.
Yeah. And
And I cannot stand it.
and from what I hear, like you heard it everywhere.
Yep.
Right? I can
And
understand
I
that.
can't stand it. I couldn't stand that particular one. I still
Right.
can't.
Right.
So, but the rest of it's not bad.
Yeah.
I never really listened to the rest of it, but now that I have, because Silver likes it, so I hear it every now and then.
I really enjoyed it. It's definitely I don't really like go out and seek music a lot, so I get like hooked on like one particular thing. Like there was a while there where I listened to like only a specific type of pony music, and so now I'm kind of like hooked on that again. It's always
Well,
on and off with that.
She has it on her Zune, and we put it on whenever we're driving.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's how I hear it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I brought this up is because it reminded me recently because it was funny because I actually heard about this through her because I was talking to her about the new Owl City ones and she mentioned the fact that you don't mind them nowadays because there's a new album out. But I thought it was funny because that's something that like the other two guys have no involvement in at all. It was something between just you and me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which fits this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Owl City, good music. Just check it out, even if you don't like the super popular stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So art, right?
Art, I guess.
So who does the what this episode? I guess because you're doing questions, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I should probably do the art then.
Yeah.
Darn
You
it!
can
I
do
thought
that.
I could get out of that again. Always trying to get out of work here. Okay.
Always.
Well, I don't think I've ever done the art because whenever this is the only time that you and me have been on the podcast together by ourselves. But like if Burn's there, then I make Burn do it, and if the other guy's there, he's doing it anyways, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't even. Jeez, what do I say here? Okay, well, I guess it's time for the art. Yay!
Yay! Art.
This week's theme is Scootaloo because
Yeah, it is.
we just wanted to pick a theme that both of us liked, and we didn't really want to put a huge amount of thought into it. We put a huge amount of thought into the art, though. Don't get us wrong. But we
Yeah.
generally were like, "What theme do we want?" And I think you were like Scootaloo, and I was like, "Okay."
Well, I said Scootaloo or Babs, and you said Scootaloo. So Scootaloo it is.
Scootaloo it
Because I
is.
think I'm the only one out of us four that like Babs seed.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't really, there are certain characters that like I'm just like, yeah, it's a character. So I guess this means we're gonna have to do all the other ones individually, but I'm okay with this.
I think so. I'm okay with it too.
Definitely okay. All right, so for our very first art piece this week, it's called Scootabot by Antiander.
Scootabot.
And this is, I guess, a little bit of a crossover between Portal and MLP.
And also something else, because Chell is an android, but she's not a bot.
Yeah, I don't really know like what the connection is here. I think
Yeah.
like looking at the other pieces, they seem to be just Portal related. So I wonder. Oh, did you play Portal 2?
I did. Oh, maybe this. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Remember the two robots? The taller one was orange, and like the
Yeah.
skinnier one or the shorter one, sorry, was blue.
blue.
So maybe this is supposed to be like the taller orange one.
Yeah, I guess. That makes
I mean,
sense.
it's a very loose connection. It looks like the artist was like, let's make, let's just make awesome armor. And what does that look kind of like? Portal. So I don't really know. Either way, I think it's really well done.
I agree. I don't really know what I can say. Like I'm not the biggest fan of like armor mixed with ponies and like the technology and stuff mixed up with the pony characters and that sort of thing. I'm not the biggest fan of all that.
Hmm.
But this one's not so bad. It's not like if you look at what was his name, Yakovlev Vad, his stuff is really really technologically inclined. If you know what I mean, like it's really
Right.
it sticks out like a sore thumb. Really really just in your face.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
one, it's more mellowed out because it's orange and the character is orange and it fits in with her. It's almost like a skin.
Right, right, yeah. Well, the thing is here, right? The cool thing about this is if you actually look very closely, you can see that she's actually an android. Like overall, like it's not actually armor. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be like a robotic interpretation of her. So if you take a look, it's very hard to see, especially on the stream. So you're gonna have to go look this up yourself, viewers. But if you look very closely at her neck, you can see kind of like the articulation points and the like the armor folds, and of course you can see it in her ear as well, where it's kind of like that kind of
Oh
armor.
yeah.
Her face doesn't look very metallic, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the part of her that is quote unquote human.
Maybe, yeah, yeah, and like obviously the wings are supposed to like imitate her wings and all of that. You know, it's funny. I've just been looking and I found a little what do you call it? A work in progress from Antiander, and it looks like this was originally just supposed to be a robot of sorts, and I think maybe there was some sort of like I don't know. It just seems like the portal thing kind of happened. You know,
Right.
because in the original one, it doesn't really have any portal themes. It was just kind of like an armor thing. And I guess someone was like, that kind of looks like a portal thing. And then it kind of spiraled out of control. And now there's a bunch of the CMC in this kind of thing.
Well, that's what happens. Like if you're just drawing something for the heck of drawing something, and you're like, the heck am I drawing? And you just keep drawing it, and then oh, okay, that could go here, and I can do this thing there, and then it ends up being something completely different to what you started out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And this is also part of an entire series. So if people want to, check it out, there's a series of it for each one of the CMC.
Yeah.
So technically, we could have picked the Babs one and gone with Babs,
Technically,
but
we could have picked the Babs one.
maybe we will. Who
yeah,
knows?
She's spoiled, isn't she?
Yeah, I wouldn't be
I think
surprised.
she's
Honestly.
spoiled. Yeah.
Yeah, I do really like Antiander's style. And Antiander is really focused on the kind of. Well, it's funny because we had a the humanized theme last week, and I think Antiander tends to do a lot of the humanized stuff. At least from what I've seen, it's kind of a mix. In fact, now that I'm looking through, it's not really that much, but for this one in particular, it's done really well, and it's it's got like all of like the proportions right, and it looks very human-esque. And the amazing thing to me, the really cool thing is that it's kind of kept a pony face, but it doesn't look weird,
Right. Well, I guess an android is a mix of human and robot, right? So human head, well, in this case, pony head, pony brain, but with a mechanical body.
Right, yeah. No, that does make sense. I'm just impressed that they managed to keep like a pony-looking face on a human body. And I guess it's not really a human body, right? But like a human-esque body,
Right.
and it's still and it not looking weird. But yeah, no, I'm really like I really enjoyed this piece. This is one of my favorites this week, and I know that it's not really your thing, but I actually really really enjoy the whole android look of things, and I'm a very futuristic person. Like I'm not sure about you, but I don't really like old fantasy. Like I don't like dwarves and elves and things like that, and I don't like looking in the past. I'm always a person who likes to look to the future. So like like futuristic technology, teleporters, portal, or androids and armor and cool things like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I know you don't really like the armor, but
Yeah, it's not really my thing. I'm also not the biggest fan of steampunk, but
right. Is it armor in general, or is it just kind of like that futuristic armor, like the android armor?
I think it's just armor in general that is like quote unquote realistic.
Right.
Like you see this stuff in the show from season 3 opener, I think it was, the Crystal Kingdom one.
Right.
But that fit with the show. That was canon. This sort of stuff, it's like it's a human technology in the pony world, and it breaks it a bit for me.
Right. I can understand that it kind of breaks the mold of like what you would normally see in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I find the same thing with guns and weapons and stuff. You see it, people draw it all the time. I mean, even who was it? JJ drew one on this. Ugh, I did not like it at all.
I'm you know what I'm completely on board with you when you talk about like the weapons and guns stuff. There's a couple of things like we had like some rarity versus giant crab stuff that was kind of fun, but like that was already so out there, you know?
Exactly. That was already uncanon. That was completely fanon, and it's okay having a bit of craziness in there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I'm totally with you at that. Especially I don't know, like just guns, like that doesn't make any sense to
Right.
me in terms of like ponies. It just
I mean,
no.
they've got face lasers. Why do they need guns?
Exactly. More face lasers, less guns.
Yeah.
Atmos Spark and Rainbow Plasma 2014.
Right. Make it happen, people.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned armor because I was going to bring up the fact that, someone made us in armor,
Right.
because we had the Otaku AP. Otaku AP does this very nice thing where every single year on our birthdays, he creates a little piece for us. And not this year, sorry, last year, he made one of us in armor. And I thought it would be something fun to bring up. And he recently remade mine because mine was the first one that he made, and it was such a long time ago. He was like, I can't stand looking at it, so I made you another one.
Yeah, actually, I do remember seeing that. He tried to decide what he wanted to do for this year, but he made one you anyway.
Well, yeah, he just made it randomly because like I have his old one, or I had his old one on my like Deviant ID because I liked it so much, and so he was like, I'm sick of looking at it every single time I go to your page, so here's a new one, just use this one, please. There you go. Okay, well, I think that's everything we can really say about this piece, so you want to move on?
Yep.
Okay. So the next piece, this is so weird to do. I always feel like I'm the move on guy, but I never actually do the moving on.
Right.
So the
You
next
just tell everyone
piece,
else to do it for you.
exactly. The next piece is called A Chance to Be Awesome - Scootaloo by Secret Pony. I know you're a big fan of Secret Pony.
I am a big fan of Secret Pony, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any like reason why that stands out to you, or is it just kind of
Her
a
characters
feeling?
are always super adorable, and her art's always clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's true.
something that I do quite like.
hmm And I find that even though the style is different, like obviously the faces and everything is different, it kind of keeps the whole, or it often keeps the whole like flat colors, little shading touches, little lighting touches, but I can see how it could be almost like the show, you know?
Right.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. So this one's another part of a series.
Yeah.
Funny.
I think most people who make CAC art are going to have a series of like individual characters. Like if they make a Scootaloo piece, it's going to have one that's got a Sweetie Belle and a Happy Bloom in it.
Yeah, man, our favorites, our folder for this episode is going to be so huge because of all these additional pieces that we're talking about. But it was actually kind of difficult this week looking for individual Scootaloo pieces because we kept finding so many great like all three of them, and we wanted to make sure that there was a Scootaloo focus on this one.
Right. If you go through our favorites order, you can see there's a couple that have like multiple characters, but Scootaloo is the main feature.
Yeah, yeah. So this one is part of a bigger piece, but she did separate it down. So I thought it was good if we could talk about this one a little bit. And something that I really enjoy as part of this one as a whole is the fact that it's transparent and it has these kind of white border around it to kind of make it pop out of any background, you know?
Yeah.
I think I called it implicit framing before. These are words that I made up, explicit and implicit framing. Explicit is like the borders of the actual picture, like, like if you have like a square picture with a certain amount of pixels, when you go outside of those pixels, that's the explicit border. And then there's the implicit border, which is the border that you make kind of with the transparency and stuff like that. So this is kind of more like an implicit border here. And I actually really enjoy that style. It's kind of hard to show in the show, so I'm going to put like a background on it that's like the same color as DA. But yeah, I really do enjoy those kind of styles.
Yeah, like it looks what you would like. It looks like a sticker, like you would find in a sticker book.
Yeah, maybe a little bit complex to make an actual sticker out of.
Yeah, exactly. But that little thin white outline around the character itself gives that sort of impression, like it's stuck on.
Yeah, and I think, stickers go by the same kind of artistic principle that this would in order to make it pop out, so that when you stick a sticker on something, it pops out no matter what it is,
Yeah, it's
right?
like that old thing, black text on with the white border is readable and everything.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around though. It's white text
Yeah,
with a black
white text with
border.
black outline.
But honestly, both of them work.
Yeah,
It's just the white text on with the black border is technically a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
yeah,
You're right. It's the big hit of contrast,
right.
where the outside layer. So in this case, the white border, the outside layer is used to kind of stop the background, and then you put the actual content inside, and it's very easy once the background is quote unquote stopped from kind of mashing with what you want people to see, then it's easier for it to stand out. And that's what this piece does really well, is it stands out from that background. It's almost like layered.
Yeah, like you've got that, like I said, that background there, the silhouettes of the other two characters. You got Scooter Bell and Sweetie Lou on the back.
Yeah.
Wait,
I actually don't know.
then,
I think they're just generic kind of ponies.
yeah,
Oh,
I think that'll just generic kind
you
of.
know what it
ponies,
might be? Is it the Equestria Games logo?
yeah. It might be the Equestria Games logo.
I don't know. Here, keep talking. I'm gonna look it up.
So yeah, like you've got that background there with that Scootaloo slash the Scootaloo sticker is stickery type thing just stuck on the front of it. It does, even though there's not a whole lot to it, it does give that impact that sort of a lot of other things that don't, that like if you had this without that background or without that white border around it, it would just not be as good. It wouldn't have the effect that it does when it's like this.
And it would really like blend in, and that's not the whole point of that. Especially with Scootaloo, right? Because her hair is kind of really similar to the pinks and those kind of colors in the background.
Yeah, or even this without that background at all, with just like no, like effect with no background, just the green DeviantArt background, it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah. I mean, luckily DeviantArt has managed to pick this color that works really well with a lot of pieces where it
they've
does
done that
kind of
pretty
make
well,
it stand
actually.
out. But you're right, the second you move that to anywhere else, it would, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you move it onto a black background, it wouldn't be as good because you wouldn't see the Scootaloo outlines. White background wouldn't be as good. It would be lacking something.
Here's a cool little thing to do. So if you're on DeviantArt, you can click and drag, and there's kind of like a little thumbnail that comes up as you drag. And what I want people to try is I want you to try dragging that thumbnail over things and watching how it still manages to stay, very obviously in front of it, and you can still totally make out the actual piece itself. And that's all due to that white border. Because if it didn't have that white border, it'd be very easy to blend in. I'm moving it over like the more like this, which has very similar colors because all the more like this is Scootaloo as well, right? And it stands out. It pops out, and it's really well done. I enjoy this piece. It's really, really well done.
Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorites. I mean, I like Secret Pony anyway, but this is a really, really good one.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm not sure if I'm like the hugest fan of Secret Pony, but it's one of those artists that I just look at and it's just like every single time she makes one, it's just like that is so well done.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of tell that it's kind of put together really, really well, and there's so much thought that's put into everything. And I think oftentimes when people make really cute things, it's easy to ignore kind of the work that's put into it, and like the amazing kind of thought process that goes behind it. But there really is a good one.
It makes it look so natural and easy.
Yeah.
I might be a little bit biased though because she has drawn my OC.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I mean, she's technically drawn all of ours, right? But
yeah, true.
Yours more so.
Yeah, she was commissioned.
Yep. Yeah, you did a couple of commissions, didn't you?
I had one. Silver had one, and then she did the one of all of us.
Oh right, yeah. Did we ever tell her that we kind of imitated that picture?
I did tell her, but I can't find the photo to show her.
Yeah, it's funny. I can't find a lot of the photos from Everfree Northwest last year, but just to inform everyone, and we can't show it up on the screen because we don't have the photo, but there's a piece that Secret Pony made. Oh God, I'm gonna have to link to that one too as well. Our favorites folder's a mess. There's a piece that Secret Pony made of us that was just like a piece of fan art, and it was really well done, and it was the four of us in this kind of like weird cluster pose thing, and we decided while we were in Seattle, and we were up on the needle. We were taking pictures, and we were like, why don't we try doing like that pose? Because it was like the four of us crammed together, and for whatever reason, we were thinking about it at the time. And so we actually took a picture with the four of us doing something similar to that. It came out nowhere near as well.
No,
but
it was
still
close,
good.
but it was fun to do. He got some good looks.
Yeah, no, we definitely got some good looks from there. So
I love the way that she does her wings.
Yeah. I think you really enjoy. You also enjoy like the really big wings too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But did Bernd like that too, or was that just you?
I think he does, but I think might be because I don't think she's drawn him by himself.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
This
I
one,
like them.
This one doesn't really have the big wings, but it's still you still really like it.
I do.
Is there like a reason why you particularly like this kind of thing?
Like the big wings, or why I like the style?
Like even though the wings are smaller on Scootaloo in our piece, like they're
I don't
still
know. I don't
good.
know what it is about. Scootaloo has small wings anyway.
Right.
Although I think Secret's done a bunch with big wings. I don't know. I like this style. Like her style is just really clean, crisp, with the white outline around Scootaloo by herself, making a pop in the background.
Yeah.
All of that just combined makes it look amazing, and I really, 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 really like it.
I think that the thing about the wings that I really enjoy, especially like these ones, like focusing on this one for Scootaloo, right?
Mhm.
It keeps the simplicity of the show, because the show has like 4 big feathers, right, and then like
Exactly.
3 little ones or something like that, and Secret Pony in this one does the same thing. She just shapes them a bit better,
Right.
so they're not like this rounded thing that happens because of they have to
They're
use
not
flash.
fingers.
Right, exactly. And as much as I think that the MLP ones look good, these ones I do think look better, and they look a little bit more like feathers and a little bit less like you said, big fingers.
Yeah. She's actually done some drawing tutorials on wings and other different pony
Oh, really? That's
body
cool.
parts as well.
Cool. People have to go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There you go. Secret Pony free plugs.
Free plugs. All right. Anyways, we've been featuring so much art from everyone that,
Right.
geez. Okay, well, let's go on to the next one then. Speaking of wings that are simple but have been kind of improved, the next one is called I Can Fly by KP Shadow Squirrel, who I know is another one of your favorite artists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you can see
I
here.
started watching them a while ago.
Yeah, you can see here that the wings are kind of the similar thing where it's very simple. So there's 4 very pronounced feathers and then 3 smaller but still pronounced feathers.
Mm-hmm.
But
These
they're kind
are
of shaped more.
Yeah, these wings are more like the show, but still not as fingery.
Yeah, exactly. It's the matter of like just making the tips a little bit more pointed and
Right.
I don't know that I'm not sure if that's quote unquote accurate, but it's more aesthetically pleasing to me at least,
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it matches up with the show more. So I guess that could be why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that.
I think there's different things that appeal to me, because like the really really realistic ones, the ones with like tons of feathers, that if it's done well enough, it appeals to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the kind of addition of making it pointy. Anyways, enough about the wings. There's other stuff going on in here.
There is other things going on here. What was the word you were talking about before to describe the backgrounds?
Like the implicit and
outlines?
explicit framing.
Yeah. Okay, so this one here would be explicit, right? With the big white square.
Well, the funny thing is that there's 2, right? So in this piece, there's 2 kind of frames around it. And again, like I'm not burned. I didn't research this stuff. This is kind of the stuff that I've kind of come up with. But we're gonna go with it. So if we take a look here, we've got the square, right? And that is the white border. And that's the square, and that's how big the picture is. It's 1,700 pixels by 1,000 pixels, and that's the explicit framing, right? So that's the frame of the entire picture. But then this piece has got an implicit frame to it. And that is that kind of like brushy kind of outline that goes around on a diagonal in it. And so that kind of makes another frame. It's like taking a picture. It's like taking a photo of a painting,
Right.
The painting itself has a frame, and then there's also the frame of the photo itself. And so this is a really, really good one for illustrating the difference between explicit and implicit framing. And again, I might be using the wrong words here. I'm not quite as good with words as Burned, but that's the words that I choose to use for it. So yeah. But it's a really good example. I'm glad you brought it up because I was gonna.
Right. That was one of the reasons why I chose this piece to bring up that outside, like that big white blank square with that inside, like the brush type of frame. I've done that in a couple of things that I've made, and I find it to be really, really effective at highlighting the subject. Also giving you a sense of gives you a bit of the feeling of what you're trying to accomplish with the drawing.
Yeah.
Like this one here, it's on a diagonal, but you've also got the clouds on a diagonal, so everything in this is screaming motion. She's going really fast.
Yeah, and then you've got like the speed lines that are coming off of her, and it, yeah, and the kind of even the brush strokes themselves are quite kind of loose, other than on her. So it's almost like they're being swiped fast.
Exactly. I was going to say that as well. It looks like they've just grabbed a brush and just gone across the piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of, you get the motion of the piece, but you also get the motion of the art itself, like how it's made. So that's a really cool touch there. And I like the fact that, talking about the frame a little bit, I like how when we have this kind of white, or when we have a border of any color, and then kind of like a painty implicit framing, it's like someone took a paintbrush and kind of like did it on a foggy window,
Right.
where you're just like seeing through. Which is really, really cool because, a concept like a paintbrush, right? If you took a paintbrush and got on like a white piece of paper and started like, just going back and forth, it would cover things. But the cool thing about this kind of thing is it kind of flips that on its head, where everything is covered except for where I painted.
Yeah.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's kind of like those, you get, I think you can buy them now, buy them separately, but we used to do it when I was younger in school. Get paint and then just paint random colors all over a piece of paper and then cover the whole thing in black crayon and then scratch off a drawing.
Yeah. I do know what you mean. Yeah. It's almost like yeah, no, that's a really good analogy. I'm not even gonna try. That was a really good analogy.
I don't know if anyone's done that, but those are fun to do. I like doing those.
Yeah. I like doing alternative kind of art things. Like sit down and painting is one thing, but I like doing like funky things, like even stuff as simple as like stencils.
Yeah.
Just like not directly doing it, just kind of using other tools. I find that really interesting.
But back on this, so I'm actually kind of proud of myself for bringing up the diagonal emotion thing because that's something I got from Burned.
Yeah. Well, we've learned a lot from Burned. I didn't know that either. So.
I agree with you with the fact that like it looks like I can see it now, like it's a frosty window and you got a damp paintbrush and you're brushing it all away. I can sort of see that now. I didn't get that at first.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because what it does is depending on how you look at it, either the blue bit, like the actual painted bit with Scootaloo and the blue sky, either pops out or pops in, depending on how you look at it, right? Because if you imagine that window, it's almost as if everything goes back into your monitor, and it creates depth that way. And if you don't think of it like that, then it comes out at you.
Right. Yep. That's how I got it at first. I got it as in they've got a paintbrush that has this picture in it, and they just have to swipe the paintbrush across.
Yeah. I do like to look at it as it's going back, as if the white paint is over top of it, because I think it creates a lot more depth with it, and it makes it feel much more 3D, where you have the first layer, the foreground, being the white, and then the midground being Scootaloo, and then the background being the sky itself and the clouds.
Right.
So I personally like it popping back, but I could see how people would like it either way, and I could totally get how you would see it the opposite way, because if I think hard enough, I can get it to go either way in my mind,
Right.
It's not one of those things that I can't unsee. Yeah.
So, with the character itself and the cloud, I like the idea of it. She can't fly, but she can hold onto a cloud and use the cloud.
Yeah, that's really funny because I mean, wouldn't that kind of work? It would take the weight bearing part of it off, right? You could use it like a scooter.
Yeah, absolutely, it would.
Cloud scooter.
Yeah.
That's a really cool concept. I don't think I've ever seen that kind of concept with Scootaloo.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah. Well, clever job by KP Shadow Squirrel, that's for sure.
Mhm. Also, there's a whole mix of different brushes here. Like, you've got just underneath, sorry, to the bottom right of her,
Mhm.
you've got, like, there's hard lines there.
Yeah.
Same with the speed lines. It's all hard lines, but the character, she's really soft, and the
Yeah.
cloud is really soft.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole mix of different techniques here, and the shading on it is done in pretty much her hair color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean that comes from a lot of the colors in this piece are really interesting as well because, for example, you have the transition from the lighter color with the yellow in the bottom left up to the darker blue as you go in the sky, and Scootaloo herself also kind of just naturally creates this contrast. What we're talking about with like Blorange here. We have the blue and the orange that immediately complement each other, and so she actually looks really good in the sky, which is ironic because she can't fly.
Right.
But she just naturally, and that kind of purpley color too does stand out because it's almost like a red, which is something that stands out from Blue Out as well.
Blurple.
Red and blue, what does that make? Rue or
Bled.
bled. Well, that's not quite it. So yeah, I think that's basically everything that I have to say about the piece. How about you?
Look at a smile.
Yeah, she's got a crazy. It's like they've taken the entire piece and she like is KB Shadow Girl? That's a guy, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like he like made the entire piece and then forgot the mouth and was like, I need something. Yeah.
Right. It's like they've rainbow dashed her. She's rainbow dashed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay. Well, shall we move on? Perfect. We didn't bring up an additional piece of this one. Yes. Shortening the favorites folder. All right, so our very last piece is one that I was quite impressed by, and it's called Scootaloo by Call 762 Nell, which I guess is Kernel, right? So it would be Kerr 762 Nell.
I guess. It's a roundabout way of saying it, but yes.
I mean, good art, but man, that name.
Use the name.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I am a huge fan of the resolution, although I'm not a huge fan of the black borders. So that's kind of a funny thing. And now people always get on my case because I talk about the whole 16:9 thing, and this one's 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p 16 by 9. But there's a little bit of a black border thing, which is kind of an interesting choice. And I personally am not a huge fan of black borders.
Yeah. I can see where they're coming from in the black border. So it's because this almost looks like a still from a movie.
Right, yeah. So it's supposed to be like more cinematic. I think the problem with that is usually when you see like the cinematic ones, the black bars are much more. Like there was one that we had weeks ago that I don't even remember what it was called anymore. But there was one that had black borders, and it was much thicker ones, and it made it look like a movie. So you're right. There's merit to black borders.
Was it the steampunk one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact one though.
I can't remember who made it. Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I do agree. There's like definitely merit to it, but you got to find the right you got to find the right length of black borders and figure out how much of your piece you're going to hide and how much you're going to show.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of like how much you're going to hide and how much you're going to show, it's interesting to me that a lot of this piece is just kind of, like not super detailed other than the pony itself.
Right. It's very. I think the background here is supposed to be clouds, not mountains. I got mountains initially.
Really? It's going to be clouds.
It's clouds.
Well, that's really interesting, huh? Yeah, I guess I mean that makes sense now. I mean, now I feel like an idiot because she's huge if those are mountains, right?
Right.
Yeah, so they're probably clouds. It's interesting. They're almost like little waves. So I mean it could be and the cool thing about it is that some people might not think this is cool, but the looseness of the brushes to do with the whatever they are, it leaves a lot of it up to like interpretation. So like it could be mountains, or it could be clouds, or it could be waves. And I don't really know if I can say one way or another.
Well, I can say clouds because this is a like not a redraw, but like a Scootaloo version of another one this person's made, and then in the description it says, "I really enjoyed drawing butts." So I'm going to assume that means clouds because I've got Cloud to Butt installed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that in the original version then?
Yeah. I think it was an OC.
Okay. Yeah. So they did an OC and then they did it. I don't see they're really enjoying butts thing. So I have no idea.
Well, because you don't have Cloud to Butt installed, you're missing out.
Well, I don't see the clouds thing then. That's weird. Anyways, doesn't really matter. So yeah, I think so. I wanted to bring up this piece because it was really interesting to me because there were a lot of things I liked about this piece, but there were also a lot of things that I think could be improved. And I wanted to talk a little bit about like what that would be. And so I wanted to start with the background.
Mm-hmm.
So the background itself, I don't think is tremendously well done. And there's a reason for that, and that is entirely the stars or whatever those flecks are supposed to be in the background.
Right. There's too many of them.
Right. So first of all, there's too many of them. Second of all, they're too consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from the same thing as the reason why people put textures over their art, like people like a Trill or many other artists. They put like just a little kind of faded texture on their art. It's because in reality, things aren't that consistent. I mean, you might look up at the night sky and go, wow, well, they all look the same and there's just tons of them, right? But it's actually not that consistent. And we pick up on these very subtle details. And so one thing that was done kind of well was the difference in opacity and lightness. So there's kind of like the waves of stars that are lighter than other ones, which I think is really good because if they're all the same kind of brightness, then that is again kind of they're not supposed to be all the same. But they're still the waves are good, but you also need to have variations with ones that are right next to each other as well. You have to almost treat stars as a texture. And textures, oftentimes, if you want to make it seem natural, they don't really have discernible patterns, or very subtle, if they are.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to like a good idea, go out after you've finished watching this episode and have a look up at the stars because it's nighttime in the States when this comes out, right?
Well, it depends. It depends on whether or not you're in a city or the country.
Yeah,
though, right?
That's true.
Because of
so if you're in a city, get in your car, drive to a mountain, and then have a look at the stars.
Yeah, drive outside the city. So I think the stars are a really good one thing to bring up because so you want to have a lot of variation between them. Little bits of variation, but a lot of little pieces. So.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta. I think something that was really well done was the fact that the stars here aren't all evenly placed away from each other. There are certain parts in the piece where there's actually like missing stars in like little streaks, and I think that kind of randomness was really well done. And again, I kind of like the sweeping motion of the different opacity, but I think that there's still some work to be done in terms of the sizing of them, the individual opacities, and also I'd like to point out as well that from the viewing of this, it's very obvious that they are circles.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that should be avoided in a lot of art, is this concept of a perfect circle, unless you absolutely have to. For example, the moon. I think that's fine to be a perfect
Mostly
or close enough circle, right?
Yeah.
But
because it is a sphere, and from Earth, it looks like a sphere. It's perfectly fine for it to be a circle.
Right. But I don't want to be all negative about it. But I'm going to bring up one more point here, and that's again the same concepts are with the feathers as well. They're all very consistent. They're all very the same shape. And yes, feathers are the same shape, but you got to put some variation in it to make it seem interesting. And also, I just think there's too many in general.
Too many. There's definitely too many. Yes, I get the concept. I think it would be more effective with less feathers falling off.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree as well. So yeah, I do like to bring up critiques on this show a little bit because as much as it's good to talk about what people did well, I think a lot of people can learn from this stuff. So I hope people don't mind if we bring up critiques and are a little bit more critical of pieces because I personally really enjoy that because I think it's how people learn. People don't just learn from what they did well, people learn from mistakes. And
exactly.
And these things aren't even mistakes. It still doesn't look bad. It's just little things that you can improve on.
Yeah, stuff you could make it look better with. Like less is more when it comes to the background, especially.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it's suggestions as well too.
Yeah. Exactly. We're not telling anyone they're bad. We're just saying you could do this to make it look a little better, but it's completely up to you because it's your thing. You can do what you want.
Yeah, do you want to try this or
I mean, like there was that guy that painted a soup can and he became incredibly famous for it.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of things that I think were done really well was the glow coming off of a lot of things. So the glow that's coming off of the moon, and then if we're going to call these clouds, the glow is almost reflecting off of the clouds and giving them their own separate kind of glow, which I think was a really interesting environmental concept.
Something else I wanted to point out that's done really well on this is just the lighting in general. The lighting coming from that moon is really well done.
Yeah, how it hits everything and that kind of soft glow.
And it hits everything at the right angle. So you've got the clouds up the top, like the ones that are sitting there floating, you can tell they're actually clouds.
Yeah.
The light reflecting on them is only on the bottom. On Scootaloo on herself, she's in silhouette because the light is behind her. Same with the clouds right in the foreground.
Yeah, you've got that kind of dark spot to the front because obviously they're in front of the light source, and so the part that's facing the camera, the virtual camera, would be darker. Yeah, but there is a little bit of that light bleed around the edges, which happens. I think that's not called subsurface scattering, but it's something like that.
Something similar to that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. Burn's gonna kill me. It was something we talked about with Spirito, where if you put like something in front of a light source, the light will almost like bend around the outsides a little bit. And so you can see that on the frontmost clouds, the little bit on the dark parts, you can still see the light kind of come around the edge.
Yeah.
Which is really well done because again, I think that imitates reality really well while still making it kind of a fantasy setting with this loose brushwork.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're not going for a quote unquote realistic piece doesn't mean you don't, you can't include realistic elements to it. And it doesn't mean that those won't go together well. Realistic elements don't necessarily make a realistic piece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this one, it's not exactly a realistic piece, but it's got those realistic elements, which are the lighting and the reflective lighting and the silhouettes and all that sort of thing.
And to a certain extent, the very manual way that the feathers are drawn on Scootaloo's wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, little pet peeve just for me. Watermarks, they're going to happen. Totally get it. But don't put it in like Arial font because that font to me screams default font. And as a person who is a font connoisseur, use another font, bro.
Comic Sans.
Okay, well, if it's appropriate, then yes.
Wingdings.
Sure, go with that. I think that would actually be a really interesting concept if someone signed their stuff with like wingdings. And it would look like symbols.
I used to be able to read it, but can't anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I'm
not sure how I feel about that. That's a bit weird. I hope there's fan art of you weeding ringdings.
Weeding ringdings.
All right. Well, I think that's a good signal to say that it's time to stop talking about art because I can no longer.
I think so. We should move on to the questions, I guess.
Cunas.
All right. So first question I got here is, what is something that you've learned that improved your drawings or changed the way that you looked at art? Sent in by Johan's Robot, which I've kind of paraphrased a little bit because the question was about 6 paragraphs long.
Yeah. So something that you've learned that changed the way that you look at art. Well, I think I think a lot of this comes back to Bernd, funnily enough. And as much as we always give him credit for doing that, but my base instinct when it comes to art is the emotional side of it, the kind of the intangibles about a piece, if that makes any sense. The stuff that you can't really always explain by pointing to certain techniques. It's the feeling you get from it. And it's not necessarily that I didn't like or that I ignored the other side of it, but it didn't, because it wasn't something that came naturally to me, it wasn't something that was like super important to me. And as Bernd has kind of taught me these different things and the importance and how you can almost explain some of the stuff that I've just been feeling through these different techniques, and how you can pinpoint good art versus not so good art through certain techniques. That's been really interesting to me. So I think that kind of the thing that I learned, it wasn't one specific thing. It was just kind of wrapping myself around the mindset of the technical side of art was really cool.
hmm I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Like I haven't really learned any on like how to, I guess, appreciate art. Well, I guess I have sort of learned how to appreciate art, but I haven't learned how to pick what's good and what's not good because you don't really need to learn that. It's just if you like something or not.
Yeah.
But I have learned how to, I guess, how to dissect it, or how it's dissect like components of it, how it's been made, how they've done this, how they've done that, how they could have done that a little better, how that sort of thing. Like something that if I were to draw this, how would I have done it? That sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because we've got an art podcast that we've been doing for 105 weeks, and then people, it's popular among a small group of people, and people really enjoy it. And it's funny because none of us were really art people, like at all, when we started this, and
Right.
I think in some ways that wasn't so great, and we were obviously very nervous about it because we all knew that we weren't tremendously huge art people, but we wanted to
Yeah.
try anyways, and I think that's actually kind of worked in our favor
hmm
because like people get to learn with us. It's kept us interested for sure because we're learning all the time. And I guess we're kind of relatable to people because other people who feel the same way can kind of follow along with us. And as long as we're keeping it interesting for us to learn, then the people out there are also going to be interested in that.
hmm
But I always look back at it and I'm just like, I can't believe I have an art show that's been going on for 105 weeks.
Right.
Like it just doesn't seem art still isn't like in my top 3 interests. But I still enjoy doing this podcast and I've learned so much from it.
It's definitely in my top 3.
Oh yeah?
I guess I still kind of make it, so
Is it bad if I say it's not in my top 3?
I don't know. Maybe. I guess hockey's number 1.
No. Gaming is number 1. That's the whole like career thing, and then
Hockey number 2.
yeah, probably. No, honestly, like my other one would be probably like computer science in general.
Right.
Like coding. I mean, like there's parts of that within like making games, but like the non-game side of it, learning more about that in general is a really big interest to me. And then I guess hockey. But I don't know. Maybe it's top 3.
Okay.
Making this podcast is top 3 for sure. Hey.
Hey.
I saved it. All right.
Yeah.
What's our next question? We got one more, right?
Next question. Yeah, we've got one more. What would you do if you switched bodies by Otaku AP? Also paraphrase.
That's my bad. Yeah. What would you do if you switched bodies? So
Freak the heck out.
yeah, I mean that's the first one. I think people underestimate how much that would like really throw people off.
I'd wake up, look outside, go, why the heck is it so cold and why is there snow everywhere? What's this game on TV with the
It's
ice
summer.
and the black thing and the sticks?
It's just as hot here as it is there. You guys are
You're
in
in
winter and
Canada.
we're in summer, and that's like the only time of the year that it actually matches the temperatures. Yeah. I don't know. It would be really weird. I wanted to do this question because it would be hard to do with 4 people. So I thought it'd be
Right.
fun if it was just the 2 of us. But so I wanted to think a little bit about like what each of us would do individually for like switching bodies with each other. So
Right.
I mean like the most intimidating thing for me, right, would be the fact that you work with like electrical lines.
hmm
And that seems like a job that you should probably know what the heck you're doing.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of frightening. I mean, if you were to take my job, which is working like computer science stuff,
I could learn it, but it would take me a while to learn.
well, yeah, and you'd probably be fired, and there'd be a whole bunch of stuff like that, and like that's understandable, and that's obviously like anxiety causing, but like I don't think there's any risk of death. Whereas that would definitely be like a big thing there for me.
You could also be fired, but fired to a crisp.
Exactly. Really fired up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the thing.
It
that
would be a
freaked me out
shock,
the
we
most.
could say.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like jobs are probably the thing that would freak people out the most because
Mhm.
jobs are so specific to like, your own expertise in it, and
Right.
it's not even like expertise. It could be something that you learned on the job, but because you've been doing it for that long,
Right.
and then you're expected to know this.
Exactly. It could be something simple as You don't know what button to press to open the door.
Yeah, exactly. Like even like a fast food place, right? You know, there's
Right.
just different expectations for someone who's been there for a month as opposed to someone who's just switched bodies.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be really crazy. I don't know. I mean,
I'd also have to get used to the language.
that's true. Would you speak an Australian accent if you? Probably not.
Well,
Right?
they do in the movies.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
But I'm
Weird.
thinking more, there are words in Canadian that I do not know what
There
the
are
heck's
like
going on.
no, you would occasionally, very occasionally catch one, and it wouldn't be weird. All of the words, like all the Canadian words that are specifically Canadian, half of Canadians don't know anyways. Like
Well, we were
Chesterfield.
talking about this earlier before we started recording,
Yeah.
about
Well,
a particular thing that you wear on your head.
Yeah, toque.
Yeah, see, I didn't know what that was.
But like that's the thing, right? Because if you said that in Canada, you'd get weird looks, but people would be like, "Oh, I guess you just never have heard of that before." Like it wouldn't be super out there, you know? I don't
See,
know.
if you said that here, nobody would know what you're talking about.
That's true. It is a Canadian thing only. To everyone else, apparently they're called beanies,
hmm
which is lame. Which is lame. So yeah, I mean, I don't think, other than the fact that like, oh my God, is this permanent or not, and like having to live another life, I think like on a day-to-day basis, like just like getting through the day, the hardest thing would be the jobs.
Yeah.
Everything else you could kind of deal with and kind of work with and kind of figure it out.
I guess we talk to each other at least once a week, so
Yeah.
we'd be able to tell each other all sorts of stuff, but I don't think I'd be able to teach you how to do my job over the internet.
Yeah, no, that would be really bad. I would probably immediately take like a week off to see if we could like fix this first.
Right.
Yeah. Because I couldn't. Yeah, I don't know what I'd do there. I'd be able to boop Silver IRL.
Yeah, you would.
Boop. There we go. I booped her. She's probably in the chat, so there you go. All right. Well, that's everything. That's both questions, right?
Yeah. So thank you for your Has Robot and Taco AP. Also,
Yeah.
guys, please send in more questions. I am out. That's it. No more.
Yeah, we're starting to dig there. We actually asked Silver this week. Do you have a question? Yeah, we have a couple questions, but like some of them aren't the greatest to ask on
Yeah.
the show. So we're
Some
gonna keep
just aren't relevant, and some we just can't do.
we're gonna keep digging. But like we would really appreciate it if you guys could send in some questions. We might be a bit questions light recently.
Yeah.
And again, remember you
Mhm.
can send in questions via Tumblr or our email.
hmm On the Tumblr, it's the right-hand side of the page where it says "Ask?" ? That's click that, and you can ask us a question.
Yeah. So
We
speaking
see
of
all
which,
those that come in. So.
speaking of which, why don't we just go right through the plugs then?
We can do that. Definitely can do that. Okay, so we have a DeviantArt account, which is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. Go there to see this week's favorites, which are stuff that we featured and stuff that we wanted to feature but didn't have time. We have a email account, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. Please send in questions
Yeah.
to that email address. Questions, please, questions. Also, other stuff.
Sure.
Sure.
Other stuff.
Sure. Other stuff. Send us in your poetry.
Yeah, sure.
Short stories, fanfics of us, all that sort of thing.
Whoa!
We also-
Don't set a dangerous precedent here.
I'll read them. We also have a Facebook page, which is Cutie Art Crusaders on Facebook. We have a Twitter, which is @CutieArtCrusade. And as mentioned earlier, we have a Tumblr, which is cutieartcrusaders.tumblr.com.
So yeah, make sure to check us out there. And again, send in those questions.
Questions. Did I,
I mean-
mention we need questions?
I mean, like if we don't end up having questions for a week, we can always like skip them for a week. But I'm not sure. Maybe I might put a poll up, seeing how people feel about questions and things like that. So
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'm already in the
Yeah.
account.
anyway, yeah. Plus you're the questions master. So.
I'm the DeviantArt guy.
Exactly. All right. Well, I mean that's everything. So
Mhm.
we made it, man. One-on-one conversation here. We made it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm impressed because you are the least talkative out of any of the four of us. But
Right.
you know, I think if you need to step it up, you can. So
Right.
So I commend you on that.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Good job.
Good
Okay,
job.
I think that's cue to finish.
Yeah, no,
We've
that
got
is
to the silly
definitely-
voices part of it.
Yeah, we've gone to the crazy silly voices part of the podcast. All right, well, that is everything for this week, guys. Next week's theme, we have no idea what it's going to be because these guys are coming back from Everfree Northwest, so they will be back next week. But we have no idea what's going on there, so we'll figure it out along the way. We apologize if you want themes in advance, but sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Watch this space.
Yeah. So,
In the meantime, use this time to write us a fanfic.
I don't think we've actually gotten any fanfics. No, I shouldn't say that. That's bad. So yeah, that is everything for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Whether or not you're on the live stream or on YouTube, we love you all the same. My name is Rainbow Plasma,
I'm Atmos Spark.
and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.